Welcome in, football fans, on today's show, which is NFL Daily, powered by Chat Sports. We have some tasty gossip for you, including, but not limited to, Mark Andrews' landing spots in case he does not want to be a Baltimore Raven anymore, Jalen Ramsey potentially on the trading block, and which teams could be vying for his services, and then other trade candidates before the NFL draft, which is, next Thursday, so less than a week away. Let's start with the big man himself, Mr. Mark Andrews. And admittingly, he's had a rough couple of months. If you remember back in that AFC divisional round against the Buffalo Bills, he dropped that ball in the end zone, which was a heartbreaker. It literally ended their season. So I know that I feel for him when it comes to that, but let's deep dive a little bit more on Mark Andrews, shall we? He signed a 4-year, $56 million deal with the Ravens back in 2021, which means he is set to become a free agent after this upcoming 2025 NFL season, and was a 2021 first-team All-Pro. There are a few guys on a very short list of maybe 5 or 6 that can call themselves the best tight ends in the NFL, and Mark Andrews at one point was on that list. Now, if you remember this picture right here, Ravens fans would say that this is the dagger in their hearts of the 2024 season. Their first year with Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson had an MVP-type year, and this is how it ended. So I get it. It's tough, but every single player goes through these kinds of ups and downs, and it was a Mark Andrews time to have his down. So I don't fault him for dropping a pass like that, albeit in one of the worst times maybe ever. But let's talk about his 2024 season as a whole. Not bad. It's clear that Father Time has caught up to Mark Andrews, right? He's almost 30 years old. His production has certainly dipped. And listen, it happens to every player. Now, with that being said, there is some juice still left in the tank. If you were to offer me Mark Andrews on my favorite football team, which is the Chicago Bears, I would take him in a heartbeat. Cole Kmet, Mark Andrews, that might be the best tight end duo in the entire NFL. Not even close. But even though I do think there is still some juice in the tank, it's clear that his best days are behind him. Now, you could make the argument that playing for a guy like Lamar Jackson is, it's hard to be a receiver or a tight end for Lamar Jackson because he likes to run so much. But I think both can be true. It's hard to be a receiver or a tight end for Lamar, and Mark Andrews, he's dipping a little bit. So with that being said, where could he potentially end up if he can't come to terms on a new deal or doesn't want to come to terms on a new deal with the Baltimore Ravens? Indianapolis Colts have never had a good tight end the last 10 years, and they just re-signed Mo Alley Cox. The New York Jets could use someone to go pair with Tyler Conklin or replace him. The Tennessee Titans, the last time I checked, they didn't have any weapons. The Giants also kind of in a rebuild sort of mode, so maybe adding a veteran tight end for a quarterback that they could potentially draft. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Shedeur Sanders. And then the Carolina Panthers, they also starving for weapons, as I just said. So I'm going to ask you this question. Where should Mark Andrews play in 2026? The football lover in me says the Baltimore Ravens simply because he's been there his entire career. But if you were to ask me pragmatically, I'd say the Indianapolis Colts. They'd probably give him the bag. Daniel Jones is your starting quarterback, and there is no shot in hell the Colts draft a quarterback this year. So they could be looking at one next year, and Mark Andrews might fit nicely with a rookie quarterback. All right, so that's going to cover it for our first rumor, but on to our second one surrounding this guy right here, Jalen Ramsey. A very loud on the field and off the field player, and it was recently reported by Ian Rappaport that the Dolphins and their 7-time Pro Bowl cornerback Jalen Ramsey are mutually set to explore trade options, meaning he wants out, they want him out. There's kind of a restructuring in Miami, if you will, but a little more deep dive on Jalen Ramsey himself. Signed a 3-year, $72 million contract in September of last year. So, he still has a couple years left on that deal. Turns 31 years old, so he's also getting up there in age. But since he's been in the league after being selected by the Jaguars out of Florida State, dude's been unbelievable. Like, borderline Hall of Fame career. He has been on a short list of top 5 corners basically since his rookie year. Now, last year was up and down sort of season. These aren't horrible numbers, right? Like, these are actually pretty decent. But if you were to ask any Dolphins fan or anybody that really keeps up with the NFL, they would tell you that you saw a slight dip in his production as a corner. And a lot of people have attributed that to, well, he's getting older and he's a little bit slower, so he can't keep up with the fastest NFL wide receivers that are on the field with him. Now, there has been a rumor inside of this rumor that maybe Ramsey could switch to safety. He wouldn't have to cover nearly as much in terms of one-on-one man coverage. He could kind of float back, still be kind of like that center field sort of safety, that free safety roamer type, and it could kind of potentially kick his career down the road. So I actually think that there's a lot of merit to this rumor. Now, coming up, in the event that he does end up getting traded, where on earth would he go? What teams would be in vying for his services? Well, I'm going to tell you that, but first, I have to give a major shout out and thank you to our friends over at Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets so much easier, especially with playoff basketball literally at our fingertips. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA playoff tickets. Save up to 60% off last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, everything you need. My fiance and I, soon-to-be wife, always love to go out to our favorite ball games, our favorite comedy and theater events, and we use the Game Time app almost exclusively to get our tickets. And one thing that I love is, check this out. You can see all the prices from each individual seat and then click on it, and it will show you the view of that particular seat. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. That's CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. So what teams could possibly be in the running for Jalen Ramsey? Well, I feel like there's a lot of teams that could use a really solid cornerback one. And a few good teams that could use a really great cornerback too. So here are some potential trade destinations that I kind of cooked up. These are mine. The Dallas Cowboys could always use some help on the opposite end of Trayvon Diggs. The Atlanta Falcons, the Raiders, the Ravens. All of these teams that I have listed here are starving for cornerback help. Now, back to Ramsey, the player. I think he should play nickel corner. Think about it. The nickel corner is kind of like a hybrid between safety and corner. You don't necessarily have to do much in coverage, but you're not playing a stereotypical safety. It's more for the harder hitting corners. And Jalen Ramsey has a big body. He's very physical, and he has shown throughout his NFL career that he's not afraid of contact. So I'm all on board for any one of those teams trading for him and then saying, hey, look, half the time we're going to put you on the outside, and then we're going to shift you to nickel corner and let you just kind of blast players on the line of scrimmage. I think it could also add another particular value to his contract, which teams might be apprehensive to trade for. So let me ask you this. Will the Dolphins trade Jalen Ramsey? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I'm inclined to say yes, they will. I don't think anything's going to happen before the NFL draft. I think you're going to see a trade happen post June 1st so that maybe there's a little bit of cap savings for the Dolphins and they don't have to eat as much of his salary. Now, on to our last one. Speaking of trades. 10 players that could potentially get traded during the NFL draft. I was thinking about this, and I was like, teams like to move up and down during the NFL draft, but what about players that get moved during the NFL draft? It's not as uncommon as you think. So who are some of the guys that could be on the trade block during the NFL draft and maybe right after it? How about these first 5 guys? Jair Alexander, cornerback out of Green Bay. Quarterback, Kirk Cousins from Atlanta. Bryce Huff, Eric Armstead. I've heard the Bryce Huff rumors, and Eric Armstead, I'm going to tell you right now, probably not going to get traded. He's coming off his worst NFL season ever in Jacksonville. And Dallas Goedert, another really tasty trade rumor that we've kind of discussed on this channel as well. But let's talk about Jair Alexander for a second. From a pure talent standpoint, Jair, fantastic. Love the player. I'm not going to lie to you. The off-the-field issues are kind of concerning. He's got a loud mouth. He's a constant headache in the locker room. And to me, I look at this and I say, you might want to trade for Jair, the player, but do you want to trade for Jair, the player? Does that make sense? Like, I know I just said the exact same thing, but the truth is that he's always got something to say about management. He's always got something to say about his offense, and you can never criticize his play because it's always somebody else's fault. Now, with that being said, most of the time, he's a lockdown cornerback one. So somebody is going to trade for him simply off the talent alone. How about another guy, Dallas Goedert, who, again, not coming off of his best season in Philadelphia, had less than 500 yards, only found the end zone twice. I think Philadelphia is kind of ready to move on from Dallas Goedert, and I think his best days are also behind him. But with that being said, for a tight end needy team, the Colts, you could get a very solid starting tight end caliber player in Dallas Goedert. These other guys, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't see a lot of these trades happening, especially Trey Hendrickson and DeAndre Swift, because the Bengals are trying to work on a contract for Trey, and DeAndre Swift just signed that massive contract with the Bears last offseason. Kyle Pitts is the only one on this one that I kind of feel actually has some trade value, albeit when he was drafted, he was kind of hyped up to be this generational tight end talent, and he's been kind of average at best. He's not nearly as good in open space as you would like. His athleticism is good, but not great. He tested really well at the combine, and it's just kind of flatlined. But then again, he also really hasn't had great quarterback situations. So I can't necessarily say that his entire NFL career is completely on him. There is a little bit of give and take to this as well. So if you are ready for the NFL draft, as we wrap up the video, I want you to like today's video. I am so unbelievably excited, happier than a pig in shit, to see this draft come to Green Bay, a place where I lived, by the way, not 6 months ago. So I know exactly where everybody's setting up. I have a bunch of friends that are going to the draft, and I cannot wait. So lock us in, hit that thumbs up button. That's going to do it for us on today's episode. Remember to like the video, like I just said, subscribe, it's free, and share this with a friend. My name is Moose. Until next time, be cool.